Okay, so as an official hello, my name is Meredith Ader. I am the head of research and instruction at Regent University's library. My primary focus in that role is you. I mostly focus my energy on research and instruction with our graduate level students. So that might be residencies, workshops, one-on-one meetings, class sessions, hunting down information that maybe you email me and say, I really need this, but I can't find it. So that's the kind of work that I generally do. The other thing is that I am the liaison, which is a slightly different role, but I'm the liaison to the schools of education and nursing. So what that means is that my expertise in materials are focused more on those two specific disciplines, but other librarians within the library have their own specialties. For instance, Dean Esther is the liaison to the School of Divinity, Harold Hinkle, School of Business. So anyway, we all have our specialties, but generally speaking, whenever you have a research question, as your graduate level research librarian, typically I'm going to be your go-to. And if there's something that I don't understand or I just need a little bit of subject specialty information, then either I'll go to our liaisons or I'll direct you. All righty. With that, I'm going to share my screen. And if somebody could unmute real quickly and just let me know that you're seeing my screen, that would be great.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Perfect, perfect. All righty. So just as a reminder, you will have access to these slides. Today's agenda, we are going to discuss Primo. Primo is your entry point into almost every one of our databases and more, and we'll go over that. We are going to talk about individual databases. We'll talk about Google Scholar and some other tools that are available to you, instructional videos, research guides, and of course, we're going to have our question and answer period. I'm going to go quickly through these slides. I really want to make sure we have some time for question and answer. So buckle up, hang on tight, and we're going to jump in. So on this screen, you do see the URL for the library. This is what the library homepage looks like, and it's very purposeful. It's very simple, and the idea is to make sure that the most important part of the library website is front and center. And in my opinion, that is this area right here. This is your doorway into Primo. You can either type something here and click search, or you can just click the search button. It really doesn't matter. The point is that you're going to want to get into Primo. We do have two very, very short, they're about 5-minute long tutorials on Primo. So if after today's session, you want to go back and watch these videos, just as a refresher, they are available to you. All right, so as I was saying, if you can click the search button, it's going to take you into this page. This page, it defaults to a simple search. And it's simple because there is one simple little bar, one little space to type things. Before you do that, though, if you see a green banner, it's just a reminder that you need to sign in. This allows the system to know that you are a Regent University student, that you've paid an awful lot of money to be here and to have that access. So you do want to sign in so that you don't get any weird messages saying, error or you don't have access. We don't want that. Once you're signed in, your name will be in the upper right-hand corner and the green banner will be gone. So again, we are looking at a simple search, one line. So I'm going to pick a very broad topic, and that's leadership for my example today. So when I type in the word leadership, I'm getting a ton of results. You can probably see this down here, 4.5+ million results. And the reason why I'm getting so many results is because Primo looks in a lot of places. As I mentioned, it looks in all of our databases, just about. It also will look in other university libraries, in their databases, in their catalog systems, and it's going to look in one other place. It's going to look online. And it's going to look for things that are listed as open access materials. Open access is a different way of publishing that sometimes doesn't always land nice and neatly into a database. So that extra function is going to make sure that you are gathering all the information relevant to your topic. But that's a lot. When we're looking in that many places, you can expect a lot of results if your topic is pretty broad. So 4.5 million results, that's not shocking. I mean, it's looking internationally everywhere for this word. But this is not helpful. If you're a student trying to look up this term leadership and you're confronted with this many results, you got to work on it. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, how to actually get to the information you need in
Hey,
a more
Meredith, can you
efficient
make your
time.
screen is there a way to make your screen any bigger?
There is not actually. This is a full screen view, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just the type or all is really small.
It is. I am very sorry. I wish that I could, but this is as large as I can get it to go. I'm working on a laptop and I've got it from side to side, top to top, or top to bottom.
Okay,
I'm
thank
sorry.
you.
On the left-hand corner, there's this little minus plus thing, and if you hit it, it makes it bigger.
Um,
Like if you like hover next to your name,
Next to my name.
the bottom left corner. I don't know. Maybe it's just on my screen.
I think it might be on your screen because this is actually taking up my entire screen. Like I don't have a toolbar.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I can do it on my end, so we
Oh,
can do it.
on your end. I gotcha. Sorry.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So again, we have to do something with this to make this reasonable. And so we're going to talk about switching to an advanced search. As a graduate level student, my recommendation is to pretty much always anticipate having to switch your search from simple to advanced, simply because you're working on information that's pretty nuanced typically. And so when we stay in a very broad category, you're never going to get through 4.5 million results. So just always kind of anticipate that your default mode is going to need to be to switch to an advanced search, which is located on the right-hand side. And in doing that, it gives you a much broader amount of options to fine tune your search. So some of this becomes a brainstorming session for yourself. For instance, you're talking about leadership, but you're at a Christian university. It's very likely that what you're really interested in is looking at the concept of Christian leadership. And I want you to notice a couple of things. I switched leadership to the phrase Christian leadership, and I let the system know that I want that exact phrase. I want these two words to be found together in my resources. But then I also realized that I still need to fine tune this. Let's just pretend that my discipline is business. So I would like to throw in this another word, business. And I could keep adding lines if there was more to it that I felt was important. The other thing that I did was I started to address my filters. So this area will be your keywords or your subject words. And then down on the bottom left will be your active filters. What I did was I added a filter to limit the years. And I know that's not legible. And I am so sorry. It bugs the fire out of me that it's not legible. But I'm going to read it up to you. I'm basically limiting my search to a handful of years. And then the second one is peer-reviewed journals. Again, as graduate level students, sometimes you are going to need to keep your searching simply to peer-reviewed journal articles. Peer-reviewed is a process of making sure that experts in the field have put their eyeballs on the article and have given it a thumbs up and said, yeah, this person knows what they're talking about. However, the peer review process is monetized, is expensive, and not everybody has the privilege of being published. But it doesn't mean that what they have to say isn't on an expert level. So as you are walking through your program, there are going to be times that you don't look for peer-reviewed journal articles only. You might be looking at somebody's blog. You know, it might be a self-published book. You know, there are so many different places where information can be tucked away. But for today's example, I just want to show you how you can take that 4.5 million results and whittle it down to something reasonable by adding words and adding filters. And I know you can't see this because the type is very small, but the results we have now is just under 500. 500 is a wonderful number to kind of aim for. In fact, there is no golden, you know, set rule of, you know, what your search results should be before you slow down in adding words and filters. But for me, if it's anywhere around 1,000 or less, I usually just stop what I'm doing, and I begin to explore the results. When you discover a parameter or a search that includes your search terms and your filters that works really, really well for your particular project, I highly recommend saving the search. And that simply is going to save this page for you so that you can pick up where you left off down the road. The reason why this is so important is because give it a day, you hop back into the system, you're probably not going to remember how you got to this page. So keep that off your plate and simply save the search. That way you can access it anytime you need to. And when you click Save Search, you're going to be given the option to turn on a notification. And what that means is that if throughout the course of your studying, somebody gets published and it goes into the system, if you have your notification turned on, you're going to get an email saying, hey, something just got published. You might want to put your eyes on it. You also can, sorry, someone's trying to get in here. Okay. You also can use the same idea of saving on an article level as well. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a moment. When you find an article within those results that looks great, you're going to want to access it. And so there are many, many clickable things available for the record. The title is clickable. All these green links, they're all hyperlinks. I mean, they are all clickable as well. It doesn't really matter which one you pick, but I do want you to recognize that these systems, they are so completely full that every once in a while access is just being wonky. And if that's the case, go back, just pick another link. Every once in a while, that's all it really needs. It just needs a moment to understand what you're asking it to do. But once you find it, you can click one of the access options and the entire article should be available to you, or an ebook where you can either download it or you can just read it online. I do want you to go ahead and take note of this little green flame right down here. This is called LibKey. It's a system that works kind of in the background to make sure that you are gaining all the access that you should have. We're going to talk about it a little bit more, but I do want just to make sure that you're beginning to see this little icon. If we do not own the article, which is very possible, it is impossible for us to own all the information that exists everywhere. Don't fear. You see where it says get it free from other libraries. That's going to take you to a link where it just says to get it. And what's going to happen is you're going to click get it, and it's going to just make sure that they know who you are. And then our system is going to automatically look for the article for you. Once it finds it, it's going to send it to you by way of email. We say to give us 24 hours, and every once in a while you do need 24 hours. Sometimes the article is kind of obscure, but other times it's a very, very quick process, like within an hour, 2 hours at most. So it's a great system. So again, if you see something that you like, you don't own it, you can still get it. So we talked about saving the search parameters. You can also save articles on the article level. So there's a pen right here beside the article. If you click that, it will also save just the article. You'll notice that I've got 3 different pens circled here. This is our parameter search. This is the article search. And this is kind of like the master pen. Whenever you're in the system, when you click the master larger pen, it's going to take you to everything that you've ever saved, whether it's an article or an ebook or your search parameters. Keeps it nice and neat for you and organized. Primo provides just a ton of other tools. It is a very, very robust system. I want to point out just a couple of them to you right now. RefWorks. RefWorks is a filing system that you can also use to save your articles. So if you don't want to save it here in the system, that's fine. Or if you just want to back up and have it in RefWorks, that's fine as well. But RefWorks does something a little bit more that might be worth your consideration as far as having RefWorks on your computer. It is a filing system, but it's actually owned by the same company that owns Primo. And it's very similar to Zotero and Mendeley, just all the different citation management systems that exist. It's very, very similar. But RefWorks is the only system, robust system, I should say, that is available to you even when you graduate. So if you create an account, and this is all free, create a free account and save your resources to this account, then after you graduate, you're going to still have access to all those resources. That is a huge, huge bonus because I guarantee that all of you are not going to be done researching when you graduate. You're going to want to go back to that information and read it again or soak in it or study it. So being able to have it at your disposal is huge. But a word of caution, RefWorks only saves what you tell it to. So if you tell it to save just the citation, that's all you got. But if you want the entire article, download it and then put it into RefWorks. And then now you've got that article for life. Citations. You can use Primo to create a citation. Another word of caution, there is no system out there that does this right all the time. It gets it right a lot of the time. In fact, most of the time. But every once in a while, you're going to click the citation and you're going to be like, that looks weird, because it is. Every once in a while, the system just gets it wrong. And to be fair, there are literally thousands of different citation management or formats. And so the fact that they get it wrong once in a while, that's okay. But the onus is on you. If you copy a wrong citation, it is now your citation. Most of your professors are not going to care whether or not you copied it wrong. They're going to expect you to know your citation style. So just kind of a word of caution. It's a great jump start, but it's not always right. The other thing I want you to see on this page are these little red arrows. As you are digging super deep into your research, especially the farther you go along in your program, you're going to realize how nuanced your searching will end up being. And sometimes finding your resources is going to be challenging. But if you find an article that is just really, really good, that really addresses what you're interested in, these little red arrows are going to connect you to other information that's similar. The downward facing arrow is going to take you to the resources used to create their article. And then the upward facing arrow is going to take you to future or later articles that have been written more recently that quoted this article. So hopefully that makes sense. They're connected either from the past or in the future. And I do want to give you just a quick screenshot of what my RefWorks page looks like. I do like it. I use it very often. And again, it's just a filing system. And you'll notice that I've got several different folders with information in there, things that I'm working on, different projects. There is a YouTube tutorial, and most of the tutorials that you will see linked are really 5 minutes or less. Very, very short, but it just explains to you how to actually put RefWorks onto your computer. LibKey. I had mentioned this a while back, that this little icon, it will pop up sometimes. For me, it pops up very, very regularly because, again, it is a system that I have put on my computer. And what it does is it connects any resource from any website to Regent University. So let's say that I'm in Wikipedia and I am reading about something and I see these little flames, what that means is that we own the resource, and you can simply click any of these little links and it's going to take you directly to the resource in Regent. This is wonderful for Wikipedia, but it's also wonderful if you are in Amazon and you think that you've got to buy a book and you realize, wait, what's this little green flame about? That means we already own it. You don't need to buy it. So it's a wonderful, wonderful resource. And again, we have a tutorial. It's a 3-minute long tutorial. And honestly, it takes longer to watch the tutorial than it does to actually get your computer set up for it. Google Scholar. I'm going to be very honest. If any of you have ever worked with me, you've heard me say, I do not like Google Scholar. I just don't like it. I don't like any system that is reliant on algorithms. The reason I don't like it is because eventually you use it long enough, it's going to think that it knows you. And it's going to start giving you information that it thinks you want. What the problem that this creates is that you begin to have very biased results. And that's not what we want as a scholar. With that, though, Google Scholar has its place. It can be very, very useful. So here's a URL to Google Scholar. And the way that we make it more useful is to connect Google Scholar with Regent University Library. This does a couple things for you. One, it makes access real quick, but then secondly, it keeps you from facing paywalls. Paywalls are when they say, yeah, you can have this full article if you pay me, $79. Please hear me. Do not ever, 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 ever pay a paywall. You're paying enough with tuition. Please don't ever, ever think you have to pay for a resource. Worst case scenario, you can send me the title and I will look for it. If we don't own it, we'll find it for you. Okay? All right. Just want to make sure that you'll hear that. So the way that we link them, and if any of you've taken UNIV, LIB, this is actually a requirement for the course. You go to Google Scholar, you go to the little hamburger menu on the left, down to settings. Then you click library links, you type in Regent University Library, and you save it. And it is as simple as that. As soon as you do that, you're going to have all the access to everything that Regent University owns that's also listed in Google Scholar. All right. I warned you, lots of information. I'm going to move on to individual databases. So as a reminder, Primo is looking in all those databases at the same time, but there will be moments where you need to look in one database at a time. So the way you do that is you click Search Databases, which is going to take you to an alphabetical listing of all the databases that we own, which this number is not quite accurate. It's actually just under 300 at this point. We have a lot. And then you look up the term that you're looking for. So for instance, if you're looking for leadership, you're going to notice that there are 10 databases that primarily focus on leadership. Doesn't mean that there are no other databases that talk about leadership, but these are databases that are designed by the vendors to focus more heavily on leadership as a topic. Another time that you probably are going to want to use an individual database is when you get to the dissertation point or the thesis point in your program. Very, very, very often, students will ask me if I can find a dissertation or a thesis in their subject area that was approved for Regent University. We can do that. So there are two databases I want you to see. One is global, and that's dissertations and theses from around the world. And then we have dissertations and theses for Regent University. So this only holds the dissertations and theses that were approved at Regent University. When you go into that system, you can look for your topic, but you can also, if you really feel like you need to, you can also look for a committee member. So in this example, I'm looking for Dr. Patterson. She chairs a lot of committees. And so I figured, let's just give her a shot. So I put in Patterson to see if it could locate her as a committee member. And sure enough, I found 18 results. So all 18 of these publications were approved with Dr. Patterson as a chair member. There are other tools that I want you to know exist. They are not housed with the library. In fact, they're housed with IT. So these are tools that IT have made available to all the students. I simply put their website up here so that you can quickly access this in case you don't have it. But through IT, you can get things like Microsoft Editor, Office 365, Adobe, SPSS. There are lots of other things, but these are the primary ones that most people ask for. And we have guides. Research guides are developed by your librarians, and they are typically subject specific. So there's a guide for education, one for nursing, one for business, one for psychology, one for divinity. You name it, if it's a subject area, we have a guide for it. We also have guides that are specific to citation. Even though the librarians, we really do not help with citations. The reason we don't is because the Center for Student Happiness has a wonderful team that focuses on writing mechanics. So whenever you have a citation question, which you're going to have a citation question, you're going to come across some kind of resource that's just weird. You're going to want to talk to the Center for Student Happiness. But we do have guides that help to guide you in the direction that you need to go. We also have a guide on AI. And I bring this up because this is obviously a very hot topic right now, and it's one that as a university we are discussing in depth. In fact, I'm part of the AI task force, and what we're doing this year is we are looking at things like policies and ethics and tools, all the different things that the subject of AI has brought to the campus. And it's still a moving target. I mean, it's just kind of the nature of the beast. There are some wonderful qualities about different AI tools, but then there's some less than wonderful qualities about AI. And so this guide is really to help keep you up to date with the conversation. So what I've included in here are not, definitions, yes, things like that, but then also the conversation that we are having as faculty members about where we're going as a campus with AI. So this particular site, this guide, it changes all the time, but the main takeaway at this point is that professors have a lot of freedom in how they allow AI or disallow AI. Make sure you're reading your syllabi to find out what your professor expects. Some are adamant that they don't want you touching it, and then others are going to say, no, you have to use it. They'll create an assignment where you actually have to use it. So again, make sure you're reading your syllabus, and then ask your professor if you have any questions at all. All right, and I did want to throw this in here. This is the guide for citations, and you'll notice circled and starred is the link to the Center for Student Happiness with their academic coaches. There's a lot of information to keep up with, and we have created tutorials for pretty much everything, all the functions. The main ones that we discussed today, I've put together in a guide called Pathways. And in this guide, there are two different things. There's a video tutorial and there are written instructions for any of these processes. We also have the workshops and tutorials loaded in the website. So when you're on the main homepage, research tools, instructional videos, right there, it's going to take you to our YouTube page where you're going to find all of them. So today's workshop will be there. Any of the tutorials, like LibKey or how to put RefWorks on your computer, all of that's located on this page. There are lots of ways to connect with me. You can hop onto the 24/7 chat. You can give us a call. You can submit a question. You can email. you can schedule an appointment. And I've discussed that a little bit, that these are those one-on-one research sessions. And then, of course, there are workshops like today. And I did want you to have my contact information. This is my email, but this is how to make an appointment. And then also to let you know that I've got 2 more workshops coming up. The next one is next week, where we are going to discuss information literacy and AI. And then in early February, we're going to have an open forum where you basically just get to come with your questions. There's no real agenda. It's there just for you to ask your questions, and we'll see if we can answer them live. So I am going to stop sharing. And we're doing great on time, 12:37. We have almost half the time for question and answer. So I'm going to stop talking and let you know, I can only see 1/4 of you. So I'm not going to necessarily see a hand raised. Please feel free just to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, I'm Renita.
Hi.
Hi, I just have 2 questions. One is that I did try to do the search, and I found some of the required book reading for my course. Some of them are available, some are not. So I'm an online student, and I noticed that when I downloaded, it has an expiration date, like would allow me to view or read the book for certain days. One of them is just a day and it expires, and then some of them like probably a month. So is there a way like to have that extend like for the duration of the semester so that I will have the copy? Or I mean, I think I always can download it every time that it gets expired, but I was just wondering if that's possible. And the second question is that I watched your video earlier about um, for this course is just like a pass or fail. I have to like watch a certain video, something like that. Can you tell a little bit more about that? I'm not quite following. What should I do to or to complete the requirements before the semester's end? Thank you.
Okay, sure. All right. So the first question is about ebooks, and I'm really glad you asked this question. Ebooks are interesting. What makes them interesting is that there are many, many different vendors or companies that control access to ebooks. Some vendors have very strict licensing requirements, and other vendors are much looser. Some vendors charge an arm and a leg for access, and some are very, very cheap. And then you throw into the mix some complications because of copyright laws. And when you are accessing an ebook through the library, my recommendation usually is to plan on reading the book online and not downloading. And the reason I suggest not downloading is because some vendors will limit how much you can actually download. And in fact, most of them do create that limit for how much you can download. And typically you're limited to 1 chapter. And that's based on a very loose interpretation of copyright law and fair use. But typically 1 chapter is going to be your limit for what you can actually download. And that's forever for that book, typically. But you're not limited just to read it. So you can read the entire book if you want to. There are time limits. Sometimes the time limit is based on just inactivity. So if you open up the ebook and you just kind of walk away and you forget that you were actually reading something, chances are really good 30 minutes later you're going to come back and it's going to be say something like your time ran out or something like that. And if that's the case, simply refreshing your page usually will open it back up to where you left off. Again, depending on the vendor. With other books, when you download them, you might be successful in downloading a chapter. In fact, you probably would be. But for, again, some vendors, you're going to be limited for how long you get to actually have access to that download. It's just a really complicated publishing reality that ebooks, the authors, they need to make money. And so as far as, how these agreements are drawn up, I mean, I really don't know, but that does make it a bit complicated when you're actually trying to read an ebook. I know that's a real convoluted answer, but hopefully that gives you a little insight as to why it's a little bit complex. So
Yes, it
again,
is.
it is. And
Yeah.
again, the takeaway is really reading it online, kind of like streaming it. That's going to be your best bet, always, across the board, across all the vendors. The other thing I want to mention real quickly about ebooks is that depending on the cost of the books, sometimes we have one access point for an ebook, and sometimes we have unlimited. So theoretically, 100 people could read the same book at the same time. But other times that one access point is being used. So you kind of have to wait your turn. It's kind of like it's being checked out, and that you just have to wait for their time limit to end, which is why sometimes there are time limits, so that the next person can actually have access to it. Your second question about the course UNIV LIB, I'm the professor for that course, actually, and that course is designed to be extremely practical. It really is designed just to teach you how to access the main important things in the library. Things like interlibrary loan, how to use Primo, connecting Google Scholar to Regent University. There are just some basics that are listed in that really, really brief course. It is pass-fail. And honestly, if you sat down in one sitting, you could probably complete the entire thing in 2 hours. And it's not designed to be, super scholarly. It's really designed to be very, very practical, so that you know what the library is about and you know how to get into it the way that you should be able to.
Is that available in Canvas, all of the videos?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for that course they are. Yes.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I'm going to just take a quick peek in the chat and see if there's anything that I'm missing. In the meantime, if anybody else has another question, feel free to unmute.
I have a question. I've been at Regent for a little bit, and a lot of times when I'm doing my research, I see some interesting things, but they're only available at the library. And I'm
Mhm.
going to be coming up on time to write my thesis. Is it worth it to, if you're, have the availability, like to take a few days and just come and sit in the library and go through the information there?
Well, depends on who you ask. In full disclosure, I don't live in Virginia. I live in New York State. And I'm here to tell you that you can do your entire program remotely, and you can do it exceptionally well. That is how the vast majority, something like 98% of our students, are coming to the university from a very remote setting. So no, it is not necessary. However, it is a lovely, wonderful building. And it's a very good environment to work and to study in. But I will say that any of the dissertation workshops that I conduct, they're all going to be remote. Does that answer your
Okay, thank you.
question?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I see a question in the link, or in the chat, that says, what is the tech link for Adobe and other resources? That's going to be through IT's homepage. And that's in the slide deck that I'll make sure that you get access to.
I have a question
Anything?
about LibKey with the green flames.
Yeah.
Did you say that was like a software that you put on your computer? And so like when you're on Amazon on your browser, you'll see that little green flame if Regent has it?
Yep, you
Okay,
got it.
excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. It's rare that I get super giddy about some of these different software options, but LibKey is really the exception. It's pretty cool. Any other questions? Then I'm going to give you guys back 13 minutes of your life, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording real quick.